The Bala recorder.
What?
There's the Balamashka, whatever.
Yeah, he's the Bala recorder. What's your name, Bacher?
Feel.
Yechiel. Nice to meet you. Where do you learn?
Very sorry.
Very nice. Here in Lakewood?
Yeah.
Very nice. So,
I'll just say one story.
yeah, please. Good. I'm off the hook.
by my mentioned by my Ufrut, so my dad was there.
Yeah.
And your father came.
Yeah.
They were sharing the friends. So they were in the yeshiva in Lud. That time was like a middle of nowhere. They were like in a it's called the Paradise.
Paradise.
Orange
Vineyard.
grove.
Yeah.
So, but Kanira that both my Zayda and your father were a little active Bachrim. They were looking for
Some activity.
yeah. So, if I remember correctly, I think your father once convinced my Zayda to go to a graphologist. What do they call it? Someone that reads hands?
Yeah.
Graphologist.
Yeah.
That is it.
No, graphologist reads handwriting.
Handwriting. So over the palm reader. Okay? So we went to the palm reader, and the palm reader told me that he's going to be a chess champ.
Because I never heard. Yeah.
So, well, what happened? The lady says, could be I'm a chess champion, but I never tried. So he spoke about you could have all the potential in the world, but if there's no, you could have all the koiches in the world. If you don't bring it out into Maisa, then it's a big garbage. Nothing comes from it. Exactly. So recognizing that we have not only looking at the Yid who's not yet thrown, saying he has the neshama, also looking at yourself and saying I have a neshama. And that's going back to having a personal relationship with Baruch Hashem, something that we have to find in ourselves. It's not the truth. When you go and tell you put on the phone with someone who's been put on the phone with 50 years, you start breaking it down crying, it's very inspiring. It's like, you know what, I don't feel that's what I'm putting on film. I mean, this guy is, I was in a nursing home 2 weeks ago. A year there, he was, his wife was there. So he was visiting his wife, and there's some people that figure everything out. They figure everything out.
They know everything.
He knows everything. He knows. I figured out Chabad. Chabad comes because I dropped things off for Yom Tov. You come, you act so nice, and you're like so friendly and everything. But I know what you want in there. I know you want to convert everybody to Chabad. That's what you want. So you're giving me a whole job for 15, 20 minutes. Tell me how he figured me out, and I'm here to convert him to Chabad. So I told him I'm not gonna argue with you. So let's put on film. And he agreed. And after he put on film, he said he didn't put on film in 50 years. And Tashi broke my heart. He was thanking me so much for giving him the opportunity. And afterwards, I was thinking about it. He's talking about how I'm here to convert him. And then he agrees to do something, V'yachol, that is part of the conversion process. And then afterwards, he's thanking me. He's thanking me for it. You see, the neshama is like just beneath the surface. It just has to come out. So, Chaim. We have to recognize in ourselves, in our own neshamas, it's there. Peel off the layers.
Fine. Sorry, so this is 40.
Mm-hmm. It's correct. So, a Fabrengen needs to have a bottom line, a result. Whether we're Fabrengen all night, or half a night, or only a few hours, you need to walk away with something. It doesn't mean I'm ending the Fabrengen, but you need to, after this document, erase nemen from that Fabrengen. In other words, like the Rebbe always said, it's Dvorim B'Teilim, and you machshul me in Dvorim B'Teilim. So I was thinking, Rabbi Yosef asked me to come, and really, Rabbi Yosef, you deserve not pumping, but to make these fabrengas, you the pagadas, beautiful. The Rebbe is very happy with you. I'm very serious. For many things, but for this, just to to think about bringing Eden together for a game of the Padre, and you all of this, and Listen, it's kol hakavod, as we say. Anyway, so I was thinking on the way here and in preparation a little bit today, thinking, what would be something good? And here I'm talking also to the shliach, to the rav. I said this before when Rabbi Yosef had me in the Tom's River once or twice in the Yiddish. Medaf, Lenin, Tanya. But seriously, not happenat blik. You know, it's come Shabbos. I'll tell you. I was one time in my life in Monroe. Rabbi Yosef said I was many times in Lakewood. Until about 10 years ago, I never was in Lakewood. Truth be told, as Chatoya Nimaskir Ayoin, growing up at the time when I was growing up, there was a lot of issues. And, you know, when you're a yeshiva kocher, you're a kochler. You're hot-headed, you know? And, what? Yeah, that's what threw rocks at me, right. So, Lakewood and I had no shaykhs, no connection, you know, and on the contrary, I didn't want to come here. I'm talking about when the Litvische and the Snagdim and those times, you know, whatever, it was a very difficult time. The Schneergrade was very good Lubavitch and, you know, but anyway, but as I got older, smarter, and I started to write and to research, you see a bigger picture. So you see the Shlomo Karlbach from a whole different perspective. Doesn't mean I became a chassid. And the same with Sackler and Lakewood and Ponovich and Tells and, you know, Svardim and Lubavitch. What do you think Lubavitch had tzaddikim? We don't have Yetzaharas. We don't have, you know, the famous Vortis. 3 groups. Breslov, Ger, and Chabad. You know the word. The youngsters don't know the word. You know the word?
No.
Breslov is always talking about simcha. Simcha, tanzen. And they're the most, in a sense, depressed. They're always fachmurit. Fachmurish. Depressed. You know what I'm saying? Melancholy. But they're always talking about simcha, Rav Nachman, Rav Nosson, simcha. Where's your simcha? Ger, Midas Emes, the Kotzker, the holy Kotzker, truth. Kotzker would say, the Rambam says, go b'derech ha-mitzvah, right? A balance, the middle of the road. Said the holy Kotzker, who goes in the middle of the road? A ferd, a horse, goes in the middle of the road. A mensch, a person, is an extremist, either to the right or to the left. Middle, you go kind of, you're like a little sheep, a shepsalah, you know? If you're something, you're a chatika. You don't go in the middle of the road. You voice your opinion to the right or the left. No. The part amongst Hasidim is that the Ger Chassidim are the most false Chassidim. Okay, it's a part. It's not saying that the Midas Emes, that the Kotzker month, that the Kotzker, the mandate of Kotzker and Ger became the outgrowth of Kotzker, etc., is whatever it's not lived up to. And the Babich, Chabad, speaks about bittul. You heard it tonight, right? The Yesh becoming an Ois Yesh, bittul b'metzias, and the biggest balgaifas. They know, they understand. Every joke, every word has some truth to it. So the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe and Tanya put, you know, I teach Tanya. We finished Baruch Hashem. I have a kollel in Eretz Yisrael in Ramat Bet Shemesh for English speakers, and I teach them online. I have someone there that teaches them Kabbalah and Rambam. And we just finished the first chelik. Now we started Shara Yichud V'Emunah. A half an hour, Monday through Thursday, 7:45 till 8:15. It works out for them in the afternoon. And we have almost every day 10 people. A chabura. Talk about a chabura, a good group. middle-aged people, some are still working, business people, social workers, artists, intelligent people, a real healthy group of people as far as personalities, and we've become real tight and chavedim through that screen. I mean, when I started it in 2018, I was next to Yisrael. I flew back and forth 8 times. The one who sponsored it wanted it to get off the ground, and he asked me, I knew him from LA, Lubavitcher, and Baruch Hashem, it's Chaim Dalfin in this format. Why am I telling you that? So we've been learning the Tanya, now we're learning Shari Yichud Emunah. The Yesodis of the Alter Rebbe that he puts into Tanya are a living organism of menschlichkeit and godliness, be'emes. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Lubavitcher and the Alter Rebbe wrote it. I'm saying this, take a look, Rav Yo told me this once, take a look at any Chassidish Sefer. It's on the Parsha, not any, most, except the Tzedek Survey Raza, Say Toiv, and another 1 or 2 Sfarim, all of the Sfarim, from the Shem Shmuel, the Sachachov, to the Kedushas Levi. It's on the Parsha. Yom Tov Shabbos. The Sefer that is what we call a thesis, an essay, that talks about who the Yid is, who the person is, and what the person should be doing, and what is the psychological ideas behind the person, is the Sefer Tanya Kadisha. And that's why the Sefer Tanya Kadisha, Rav Ruderman of Ner Yisrael, who was born into a Chabad home, that's in my book over here on the 2nd volume of Gedolim and Chabad. I think the 2nd volume, 3rd volume. Anyway, so he carried around. I was told this by some of his closest talmidim. In his pocket, he had a little Tanya. He became a big litvak. Didn't agree a lot with the Rebbe's Lubavitch, to put it mildly. But this Rav Ruderman,
They had a Tanya shir in Yeshiva.
he stopped it. There was a shir, but he stopped it. And the chassid was chassid Rashab, of Axelrad, but he stopped it. It's in the book. Anyway, and again, I'm not saying he stopped it because it was Tanya. He had his reasons, but I don't want to go into that right now. The Sefer Tanya is Nachlas HaKlal, okay? A Litvak learns it his way, a Bover learns it his way, a Lubavitcher learns it his way. But one thing's for sure, the Daf is learning, and you have to learn it seriously. It's like a Daf HaYomi Klape learning the Eon. I told you before, I told him about young Bachar, and learning Gemara and Rashi versus learning Gemara, Rashi, and Tosfos. And when you learn the Tanya and you immerse yourself in that, you're a different person. It's a different person. I'll tell you about Maisa, he must have heard of Maisa. It was Zalman Gerati. Zalman Gerati was a Gerati family, the same, a cousin. This Moshe Gerati, this Rabbi Gerati's great-grandfather's brother, he had 2 brothers, one was Zalman, one was Shmerel Gerati. Zalman was in New York, and he was a big Askin, and very special Yid, Zalman Gerati. So Rabbi Zalman Gerati once went to the airport, and if you got something at home, now you probably know, was steht in, no? Yeah, in Savos, in Yehuda the Chassid, that once you start on a trip, you shouldn't turn back. You forgot something very important. So he called into the Merkez, to the Rebbe's office, to please ask the Rebbe what I should do. And the Rebbe told him, Nemareis Tanya, learn a shtickle Tanya, and then you must a naya mensch. Then you can go back. You're not the same person. This isn't a joke. When the Rebbe wasn't playing a little game here, finagling. How can we make a loophole? How can we get around it? That's not the Lubavitcher Rebbe. That wasn't the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He meant it. When you learn a piece of Tanya, you learn it al libet and nafshe, you're naya mensch. So, what I share with you is, if all we walked away with from tonight is to either on your own or do a shir, but to really learn it be'iyun, to zacharein trachten, you're going to be a new mensch. And this is for all ages and all kinds. The Tanya isn't just a frume, a frayer. Tanya is nachlas HaKlal for every Yid. And not everyone is able to explain it, Well. So you have to find a teacher. Someone just wrote me on the way up with the driver brought me here. He says, I want someone who's a philanthropist and very fine person, a Lubavitcher. He says, I don't know Tanya well. Tonight, I want to learn Tanya. I want to master Tanya, he says. So he says, what, Rabbi, what do you suggest? So I wrote him back one line, find yourself a tutor. You have money to build a building. Spend some money on yourself, on a tutor, and pay him top dollar to teach you richtig Tanya, and then you'll know Tanya. Like a shtickl Gemara, like a shtickl halacha, if that's what you want. So Baruch Hashem, you ever have a Rav here, a Ken Tanya, another Rav Durani. You have people around. But the Rebbe said once, to the Talmidah, I remember this, I think it was at the Fabrengen. If you have a Tanya, you have a complaint against your Rosh Hashiva, what should you do? Your Rebbe, you don't like your Rebbe, did this, Rebbe, did that. Well, what should you do? Say Tehillim. Don't break their windows. Then he said once that on Shabbos, if they're sleeping in their home, knock on the doors. Rebbe, I want to learn with you. Rebbe, I will verstehen. Yeah. Rebbe Shochat in Los Angeles, I remember. We were Bacher, older Bacher. The Seder in 70 years, the Rebbe made in 1959, 58, 59, what's called Kanye, Knei HaMenorah. Right, the Rebbe made 7 Bacherim who will say a pilpul in Hasidus, and 7 Bacherim will say a pilpul in Nigla, in Talmud, whatever they're learning in the yeshiva. Naturally, these were amongst the best Bacherim in the yeshiva. So when we went out to Los Angeles, we took upon ourselves the same thing. We were 10 of us. So every week, someone else said a pilpul nigla, and someone said a pilpul six. I said the chassidus a pilpul. Rabbi Shochat, is a Talmud of Rabban Kotler, and the Briskerov's son. Yeah. Not a man, yeah. Rabbi Ezra Shochat learned by Rabbi David. He's going to Chicago. It's open. And learned Chassidus when he was young, then became more Babich, more Chabad. But you understand, you don't learn in time by Tmim. It's certain things you get in Lubavitch Yeshiva from youth that you could become a Lubavitch later, but you don't get it. You don't have it. It just, it's the way it is. It's the schmaltz and heading. I'll tell you a story about that soon if we get to it. The kichlach, the schmaltz and heading, and the little chaim by the ticket, you either get it or you don't get it. You know what I'm saying? You can't buy it. So I said a pupil. I said about the union of Malchus, this 10th Sfira, the 10th Sfira of Malchus. The Zayra says, it's what Chassidus, less lo megar mo klum. Malchus is doesn't have its own independent life, like Levana, right? You had the eclipse this week. Less lo megar mo klum. What does that mean? So I spoke about this concept, and I expressed myself by saying, "Says Nishtakim Malchus." Well, Rabbi Shochat heard me say Nishtakim Malchus. This is in the base. It was in the dining room with all the younger Bacherim and the older Bacherim, all my Chaverim. He got up from his seat, kipshutai, and he went over to me. He picked me up by my collar. He's very strong. I'll kill you. Those brechen the beiner. Like, how can you say there's no Malchus? Apikursus. It sounds like a mirror dialogue. The Shmuel Berenbaum it's on YouTube with that other the box. If you haven't seen it, you have to see how they're tearing each other apart. And they learned. I said, Mama, you learned. Emir, that was the mamish. You think they want to eat each other up, kill each other. Rabbi Shochat did the same thing at that time. Years later, I lived in LA as a married man. So Rabbi Shochat told me, he says, Halavai, I would have such bacharim today that say there's no malchus and I want to beat them up and throw them out. I don't have who to argue with. I don't have. Learning Torah, it's not just Yiddish Torah. You know, the Litvische use the word steigen in Torah. In Chabad, we don't use that. In Chabad, it's called that, a snag's word. A Litvische word, steigen. They use a different word. Harven in Torah. Haravanya. Harven. Effort, diligence. But the Nekuda is the same Nekuda. The Nekuda is to mamish. Sefer Atanya. Tell you a word I heard Rebbe just this week on a tape. Peter Gimel Shari Yichud Amunah, the Alter Rebbe ends with a question. You know what his question is? How do we exist, Yosef? If Hashem is here, how can we be here? So the Alter Rebbe brings a mashal in Peter Gimel from the Era Shemesh, the ray of the sun within the sun ball, from the Shemesh. Says ask the Alter Rebbe, the mashal is not doing it to the nimshul. The parable is not like the moral, because in the parable, right? Yeah. The sun ball is not here. It's the ray of the sun. If the sun ball, if the makar was here, there would be no ray. But by nivroim, by creatures, by creations, we say the Eibishter is here, not like the Shtoyer Hashem, like the makar Hashemish. So if the Alter Rebbe asked the question, how can you exist? That's the end of 3rd chapter in Shari Yichud. Asks, Chassidim would say like this, Lubavitch Chassidim. How can the Alter Rebbe end the Pedic with a kasha? You heard this word. It's Geschmack of word. I don't remember learning it this way. How can you end the Pedic? We know Meir Nevuchim, the Rambam, the guide. Why don't we learn it? Chassidim don't learn it. Yidden don't really learn it. Because we're afraid you'll go to sleep with a question and you wake up tomorrow not be kodesh, because the question is better than the answer. Right? No. The Alter Rebbe leaves us here with a question at the end of Pei Gimel. And throughout the day we finished our Zman with my Koilach Talmidim. When am I starting? In 3.5 to 4 weeks, right? We follow the Koilach system of exercise. 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks. Ich was hanging. They're going to be with a kasha. Why are we not afraid that they maybe won't come back to the class? So Rabbi told over the Shem Chassidim. Azak kasha negben hopen. By the Meira Nevuchim, you're questioning God. Does Hashem exist? And how does it? Azak, to go to sleep with such a question and you don't have an answer before you go to sleep, it's problematic. What's the question in Peidik Shad Yichud Amunah? We don't exist. How do we exist? Azak kasha negben hopen. It's a gewaldige insight into. It's a gewaldige rayon. It's an insight. Into what Chassidus is, what this Alter Rebbe did in Tanya. He takes the person and he says, "Who are you? Who are you after all? With all of your accomplishments, wer bist du?" From zweiten Seite, he says, "You're everything. We have Malachim, we have Neshamas, we have all the Gerisa Meises. It's you that counts." How do you reconcile the two? This is what the Alter Rebbe does in Tanya, especially in the Shari Yichud Amunah. And the first section of Tanya talks about the Beini, Rosh Hashanah. Who are these individuals? How are they real in our life? The Beini. What's a Beini? When you ask someone who's a little Galet, I feel Galet of Tanya, Beini, forget it. I can't be a Beini. What's Alter Rebbe say a Beini is? Ois gehitten, careful, and machshava dibur meise. Come on. Stam. My father taught me in Lud, I don't know if you heard this from Yezeda, Shem Yezeda, Reb Shlomo Chaim, the world made a Chafetz Chaim, it's Tzaddik, Chafetz Chaim. In Lubavitch, they called the Chafetz Chaim a Beinin. You probably never heard it. Not that the Pshat of Chafetz Chaim wasn't a Greisa Mensch. But the Alter Rebbe's Beinoni is the world's Tzaddik. So it sounds bad. Chafetz Chaim. And Taka the Chafetz Chaim was a tzaddik. But the Alter Rebbe has a different understanding what tzaddik and Beinoni is. Yeah. So the Chayra, you walk away saying you learn Shtikol Tanya. I remember I taught when I was in Shlichus in California, Marin County, north of San Francisco. A doctor, there was the head of the pediatrics, a Kaiser hospital. He came from Boston. He had Russian parents. He already wasn't from. But a very he used to like davening by us because he davened in a shtibel when he went there in Boston. So, and I learned with him Tanya, one-on-one. After Peidik Beis, he says, Rabbi, I'm not coming anymore to learn. And we were friends. So I say to him, why aren't you coming? You know, we have such a good time learning. He says, Rabbi, I will never be a Meinani. Verstanden. I'm not going to be a Meinani. I said, well, why am I learning this? It's a waste of time. So this question was asked to the famous Chabad Chassid of Nissen Emenov. He was also from Rusland, and he was a mashpia later in Paris, in Brunois, and he would be considered today a tzaddik. There's no question that people would give it pidyonis, not even a question. This man would come in. I heard this from people who saw it. So Friedman told me this. 8 o'clock in the morning, Yom Kippur, go to a wall and stand on his feet all day till Ne'ilah. No? How does one do that? Not standing, saying, and facing the wall, thinking about Hashem, davening. So, he had a nephew who said to him, I heard that the Friedrich Rebbe of Yosef Yitzchak called you a Beinani. He asks his uncle. So he says, I was a little boy, 10 years old. Today he's a shliach, friend of mine. He says, is it true, uncle, that the Friedrich Rebbe called you a Beinani? Is it true? So Reb Nissen said like this, was is a Beinani? What's a Beinani? As Nizer Machshava Dibra Maisa, he's careful with his thought, speech, and action. There's a minute Beinani. There's a half an hour Beinani. There's a 30-second Beinani. But during those 30 seconds, bist du in ganzen a Beinani. Gewaltig, right? Yeah, a Chofetz Chaim Beinani. We're not that. Oh, but a 30-second Beinani, that when a machshava comes in, that's not appropriate, and you push it away. And a Lashon Hara, you want to speak a Lashon Hara, you shut your mouth, you close your mouth, and you don't do something that's wrong, right? Are you going to do it tomorrow? You'll deal with it tomorrow. But right now, if you can push off, and the machshava dibra maisa, and be careful, machshava dibra maisa, you are a 30-second Beinani.
The emes of the Beinani.
Yeah. You know, besagt the word from the Vilna Goyen. Du bist Velen, kannst du sein a Vilna Goyen. If you really want, you can be Velen, Vilna. Right? The same the Kuder. If you really want to be a Beinani, you can be a Beinani. Otherwise, if the Beinani model of the Balatanya is not for us, it's a waste of ink, and we shouldn't be learning it, and it's ridiculous. The Alter Rebbe wrote a Beinani Sefer Tanya for Klal Yisrael for all generations, including this generation with the assimilation, all the issues. We see Lepoil, the story I told you before. I learned with this Yid who had belonged to Reform Temple and garnish, and today has a beard till his pupik, right? From learning Tanya, Be'iyum, slowly. I'm not telling you facts. Now, I'm not saying it can't be this way for a shtickle Gemara. I don't want anyone to walk away. Chas v'sholem, it could. But the Tanya lends itself to these ideas. So I really hope that we can make more shi'uri Tanya and talk it out and shmuz it out and develop a chabura. But someone has to, this doesn't come from, you gotta put time into it, and not everyone has the time. So what I would like to see, the truth is, and maybe there is, but as far as I know there is, and I told this to Yosef last time, I'd like to see a one shear in this whole area, Lakewood, Jackson, and someone who gives a shear Tanya Be'iyun. Who gives the shear? Yeah, he gives for Yiddish. Talking about in English. I know Lema. I can't get my good to share. It's in Yiddish. In English, the English speakers. A lot of people was verstehen this Yiddish.
They don't have Chaim doesn't have English?
No.
Yeah.
You can listen every day. Yeah, no problem. I'll give you the thing. But that's fine. But why there should be someone in this area at least once a week, better twice a week, and that a chabura is created and melen be'iyun, not just, unflefflich, like that. No. Man stellt sich auf every line, man was masber, man fragt, and so that I say this. And that was something that I thought would be something that if it could happen for English, I know about the Yiddish. The Yiddish, why do I write in English? Why did I write these books in English? I could write in Yiddish. I know Yiddish probably as good as anyone else. Why do I write in English? Because we need to bring the Torah to English speakers, the deepest parts of Torah, like Art Scroll did, and Kahus does, with Chassidus, and Art Scroll with the Gemara, and all that. And it's gewaltige Sach. Mishnayos, Tanakh, Ramban, there are plenty, millions of people are learning through I told you, my friend, how does he know that you don't put on tefillin in the morning? Because, on Tisha B'Av, because he read it in the back of the Art Scroll Siddur. Poil Mamish. Chaim Dalfin helped that we should endeavor in these inyanim, and you don't have to be a shliach, and you don't have to be a rabbi, and you don't have to be a macher. Every yid has an achrayus to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to teach Torah, to disseminate Torah. And today, you guys know as well as me, and maybe better, that there's no more of this, you can teach this all over. If you know what you're doing, and you're a mensch, and you have seichel, maybe you can't say it in BMG, the base medrash. So outside the base medrash,
We have to change the names.
Whatever. Listen, if in Ponovich they're singing the Balatanya's Niggin, that's not a pella, the Dalit Bavas. But they're singing Tzomah L'Chonavshi in Ponovich, I don't know, to me that's pretty interesting. Whatever, it's just interesting. What's the pshat? The pshat is the world has changed, Baruch Hashem, for the good, and there's a hisoidus of Yidden to learn Chassidus, to fabring a fabrengen like this. If you have this fabrengen, I don't mean because of me, I'm saying a fabrengen with geschmack and the gunim and mezitzt. Not, I have to rush out, you have to rush out. And it creates a gewaltigkeit. And it's not about becoming a Lubavitcher or a Sakber or a Litvischer or a Svardish. It's about the neshama should have geschmack and elikus and godliness. Through a machlis parah b'chamoyim, through a dinner shulchan aruch. I saw Yidden, Lubavitcher Yidden, that when they learned the piece of Gemara, they were in seventh heaven. You heard of a Yid, Harav Hirschsprung, he was the chief Rav of Montreal. So Erdlich gewend, he wasn't a Lubavitcher from childhood. And Lubavitcher say he became a Lubavitcher. I'm not sure about that. But what he definitely became is a strong friend of the Rebbe's. And of Lubavitch too, of Isaac Shvei. I saw this person in Camp Dinosaur in Parksville, New York, a few times, a Yarki Kala. You saw the way he spoke about, when he used to jump up and down, mamish, and his whole body shook from a geschmack in a piece of Gemara. Mamish, just like that video of Rashul Bamba box, yeah? That's Chochem Torah. That's all you know. And I remind myself of another thing. Zaygesund. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I remember I was walking Meir Sharim, walking up towards Ger Chabad years ago. It was a hot day, and I wanted to think in this, it's uphill. You go up, it goes uphill. So there's a kiosk, a little store. I go in, I have my shekels, and I say, man, and he's the store owner is talking and learning with another Yid. And I'm standing and I'm waiting. And he continues. So I say to Yid, and Shulik says, it's Mezeir Heis. Ich come in the store, verkauf soda, do me a favor, sell me the thing, I'll leave it. He turns to me and he says with a straight face, Reb Yid, like the hostage Zeit, kennst du gehen. Ich halte mitten an jener Torah. I'm in the middle of talking Torah. If you don't have time, you could leave. And he wasn't saying it, I didn't feel out of arrogance.
Speaking of leaving, we have a ride in 15 minutes.
Okay, good. Thank you. So you clocked me out.
How from the balloon?
No, I remember Fabrengen, Achashal Pesach, I forget which year, must be 77, 78, 79, one of those years. The Rav, Reb Zalman Shimon, was our Rav in Crown Heights. It was a Yid from Ler to Lubavitch, and Tal Kochen, a big Rav. And, the first Sikha, the Rebbe would start Fabrengen by the Shkia, before the Shkia, Achashal Pesach. And then, there's Teis, right? No one left. In fact, in the good years of the 70s, you know what time Fabrengen for the Achashal Pesach? 2, 3 in the morning. I was there. And because I lived in Borough Park and the Fabrengen's in Crown Heights, and in those days, if you went on a train at night, you were knifed. You wouldn't come back alive.
Come on, what's the other?
Yeah, Matzi Yom Tov. So my mother, I'll show in the school story, Ger Chabad is this Ger Dalfin, she passed away the same day that I was young, Yemeledis. My mother, who was a Polish survivor from the Holocaust, from the Varsha area, she got into the car and she drive. My father had to get up 6 in the morning to go to work. He couldn't stay up so long. My mother would get up, or was up, and would drive, take home her kids and some of their friends to Borough Park. School that she did. Anyway, so the Rebbe said it, this Fabrengen, Achashal Pesach, second Sikha, I remember. Cooking up the Zayga, you shouldn't look at your watch, but it's 6 If you're immersed in the Fabrengen, in Torah, there's no watch, there's no clock. He was like, but the Rav has to get up, because the Rav has to pay for the chametz, he has to buy back the chametz. But the Nekuda is that, you're in Torah. There's no Welt, there's no Welt, all that exists is Torah. So this Yidale, in Meir Shalom, said it with a straight face. If you don't like that I'm sitting and talking to Torah, go to another store. When we will finish learning the Torah, discussing Torah, then I'll give you. See this, Alter Rebbe teaches us how to come to these hergation, to these feelings, how to develop them, how to be able to reject what we call chesed ha'yalma, the narishkeit of the world, especially today with the internet and everything else that we all benefit from it. Lubavitch doesn't believe in, shunning the internet to the, of course, there has to be rules and regulations and times and everything, but to say that it's a keli, that's a treif keli, that's not the Chabad shita. And we can discuss it another time, the pros and cons, and there's a lot of cons, okay? And it needs to be, but if Rabbanim pass in a certain way, and if you belong to that community, you're obligated to follow. But B'shita, the shita was to use the keli for the Eibishter. You might mess up. Guess what? When I was your age, 17, 18, whatever, when I went out to help even put on tefillin in Manhattan, on the tanks in the 70s, Midtown Manhattan has thousands of people walking during lunchtime and other times, and some of them aren't dressed exactly tznius. So what does the Lubavitcher Bacher do? What did I do? You know what I did? I didn't even realize they were there. Not because I'm a Baal Darga, because I didn't know about these things. And I'll never forget, I'm not going to go into the details because it's too private, but I was approached by a few people and they asked me things that I didn't know what they're talking about. Kipshuta, I did not know what they're talking about. And I was a regular boy who liked the baseball. I was a New York Mets fan, not a New York Yankees fan. And I went to ball games, and my grandfather, who used to watch wrestling, I used to watch wrestling with him. But I learned very well, and as I got older, I got more into my learning. We had a television at the house. My mother made an agreement with my father. She came from Costa Rica to Radio City. She said, "You want to marry me? I don't like your beard, but I'll take you with your beard, but you have to put a television in the house." My father ran to his friends from Eretz Yisrael. He said, "I like this girl, but how can I marry her? She wants a television." The Rebbe spoke in 1956. Bringing a television now is like bringing a koimer, a priest, into the house. So 4 years later, 1960, he's dating this girl, and she wants a television. Otherwise, gezach. You know, my father's friends told him the most chassidish guys in 770. The Rebbe told my father wrote to the Rebbe said, "Talk to your friends about it. And listen to your friends." The friend says, "Take her, but make a deal with her." that you are responsible for the chinuch. If she agrees that you're responsible for the chinuch, you agree to let her television in the house. My father couldn't believe it with his bald head. You know, my father taught me 3 things as a yid. No chup, frontal hair, you know, you got to style your hair. My father was 0, not 0 or 1. You got to learn a Lubavitch Yeshiva if you want to be a Lubavitch. You have to learn a Lubavitch Yeshiva, not Beis Yaakov, and not Torah B'das, not Chaim Dalfin. If you want to be a Lubavitch, you got to go to Lubavitch Yeshiva. And if there's issues, you work it out. And the third thing he said was to give a cushion to the Rebbe, the tzaddik that you believe is the tzaddik, you're a tzaddik. Those are the 3 ABCs. There's kosher, mikveh, and Shabbos. There's ABCs. This is what I grew up with. Those are the 3 things. And he got it from his mashpia in Rebbe Shlomo Chai, right? So this, he would eat on Pesach. Pesach's coming. Hard-boiled eggs, potatoes, and matzahs. That's what he ate when he got married. He was so frum. Nothing else. And here he's marrying a girl who wants to have a television in her house. He agreed. And Baruch Hashem, I think the results speak for themselves. Right? So the Rebbe saw a bigger picture. The Rebbe saw a bigger picture. A very big picture. He saw that the Yiddishkeit of the 40s, 50s, and 60s needs an expansion. So the old geezers and the old folks and the old guard and the old country, they couldn't relate to this. And that's why you had Sakper and other, you know, what's Lubavitch Rebbe with a bent down hat. Where's your Shtreimel? By the way, I asked someone, he's already probably no members, he fought in 3 wars. He used to learn Hechel Menachem in Borough Park. I said to him, he said to me, you know, that I asked the Rebbe once on the steps of 770, Lubavitch Rebbe, was truck to nicht kein Shtreimel? Why don't you wear Shtreimel? He confronted the Rebbe on the steps. And the Rebbe looked at him, the Rebbe said, weil mir das mir nicht gegeben. Rebbe said, the Chomentina had the Shtreimel, the Spoddik. She didn't give it to the Rebbe. He said, that's why I didn't wear it. That's what he said. So I'll tell you what he told me, and I'm repeating. Although Chassidim say, could you imagine the Rebbe with a Shtreimel? And I do believe that if he would be given the Shtreimel, he would have worn the Shtreimel. I'm convinced at the time. But he didn't. So the point is that you could look at this as modernity. A Rebbe goes to, he's in university. Which Rebbe went to university? Rebbe. He didn't go for a PhD like Rebbe Soloveitchik did. But he went for engineering. But he had to take courses. Berlin, 1929, was treif shebe treif in intellectualism and apicursus. And guess what? I revealed this in my book in Rabbi Huttner. I believe that the Rebbe was the one who convinced Rabbi Huttner to leave Berlin. He was only there for 4 months. You won't find this in his daughter Bruya's biography of father. She omitted it, but I found it out. 4 months. He was there 4 months. I don't have concrete proof, but it points to that the Rebbe was the one, because he knew him there, and they were friends. And he told that he wasn't married. This is not a place for you. He was a very bright Rebbe. He was a goy, and he liked to know new things. 4 months and leave, and he left. So how is that a Lubavitch Rebbe, Chassidish Rebbe, in university even? So Rabbi Soloveitchik told Rabbi Aaron Rakefet, you must he speaks at the YU online. He's a very good friend of mine. Good friend. I mean, he's older, but he's endorsed some of my books. So he told me that in 1967, he lost his brother Shmuel, the Rav. He lost his mother, and he lost his wife, Tanya. So the Rebbe didn't come, and he was first upset, and the Rebbe sent them shlachas. I think Rabbi Yechel Gordon, Rabbi Yisrael Jacobson, maybe someone else. And Rabbi Rakefet was in the house. When they left the shiva, he turned to Rabbi Rakefet. He told me this himself. He said, meaning the Rebbe, Rabbi Soloveitchik is telling Rabbi Rakefet, referring to Lubavitch Rebbe. After the 3 Lubavitch, gewinnt Ger Chabad in Berlin. Und ich bin gewinnt als Student. I was a student and he was a Yiddish Shemayim. Enough said. It doesn't mean that he was not from. Of course he was from. But a student is a student in a university, getting a PhD in philosophy, which you got. The Rebbe was a Yiddish Shemayim, he said. This is Rabbi Soloveitchik telling us, Rabbi Kevin who told me this. So you're talking about a different type of it, but the world doesn't understand that because it doesn't fit the script. Our Rebbe doesn't go to university. It doesn't make any sense. So when you understand the background and when you look at the bigger picture and you see what was accomplished, Hayoim, the proof is in the pudding. And the Rebbe always said, same with Chassidus. The Gra was concerned that Chassidim are a cat. And on and on and on. Okay, he says, okay, I can understand your concern. But look at the result. Then the Yiddish Shemayim. So, yes, you were concerned. Now it's unfounded. Now it's been proven that Chassidim are Yiddish Shemayim. Chaim Dalfin to help that we should get together more often, fabrate more often, and learn more Chassidus, and fabrate together, and have only simchas, begashmias, beruchnias, good health, parnosa, shidduchim, and all the yonim that everyone needs, and we should have a chag kosher with sameach, and to know that there's an address. Rabbi Yer once drove me to Muncie. In the middle of the ride, I was very close to him. That's why I wrote 3 books about it. In the middle of driving, this was to an event in Muncie where Pendler's son and others came, and the yeshiva, we had a Babich yeshiva then, and we made a Iruah, and I asked him to come, and he came, Rabbi Yoel. So in the middle of the road, on the Palisades, he turns to me, and he says to me, Savu Kumenzeh. And I'm driving, I say, Rabbi Yoel, I have to look at the road. Vos? What are you talking about? He says, Sekumen, this was already after Gimel Tammuz. Thousands of Chevra come to New York to 770, to Crown Heights, for Tishrei. What are they coming for? The Rebbe's passed away. Not here. What are they coming for? So this is his line. He had gewaltige sharp lines. They wissen, as do is the address. They know that here is the address. He is here, he's not here. You could see him, you can't see him, you couldn't. Makes no difference. Here is the address of Elikus, Yiddish Shemayim. Rabbi Avram Yofa bring here in Lakewood years ago. Rabbi Gansky told me this word. There was a sukkah, in Chalaboy, in a sukkah. There was 150 Lakewooders there, BMG Chevret. And Rabbi Avram was Fabring, he was a Russian, I could do Mashke, he was a seasoned Lubavitcher Chassid from old. So he turns to them and he says, you think I'm talking so that you should become Lubavitchers and you should come to 770? He says, we have enough Lubavitchers in 770. You don't need to become a Lubavitcher. But he said, if you want to see a Yirei Shemayim, come to 770. Wir haben unsere eigene. We have enough of our own. We don't need more. Huh? But that's not the Kudah. We have enough of our own. Baruch Hashem, Kanei Nahara, extension. Going to 770 Yom Kippur, I was there 1 year against the wall like this. Mamash a fire hazard. How I got out, I don't know. Against the wall. Kol Nidre. Gasping for air. Kanei Nahara. Darf nicht nach Lubavitchers. Oh, but if you'll see Yirei Shemayim. Listen, give a look at this Lubavitcher. Check him out. You want to see a real Yiddish Shemayim who's not gechampfend? You can't blackmail him with money and with honor and with covet, with alle Bubba-Meises? This is Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's Avram told the Lakewooders. For that, come to 770. But not that we need another Lubavitcher. We have enough of our own. I think the good. It's not about, my maflega, my party, your party. It's about finding a Meira Derech that brings you closer to the Eibishter. That's all. And if someone has it through a Gadol, God bless you. And if someone has it through a Sfardish Chacham, God bless you. Kol HaKavod. No problem. Aber the Rebbe and through Chassidus Chabad, what they teach and what he taught and how you can't imagine, how he became from nothing two episodes. Shtickle mensch. My father always says, yes. When my father went to the yeshiva and he started to learn the Lubavitch yeshiva, and my Zayda was a Romanian Yid, a vision Chassid, on a board. So he says, my father's name is Aaron. He says, Aaron, ich sehe, as dein Rebbe is größer with the Baal Shem Tov. And this is a vision Chassid from the old country, and he never landed in Eretz Yisrael. So he says, Tate, father, what do you mean? He says, the Baal Shem Tov wollte ihn nicht gekannt machen, kein Mensch. And I tell Lubavitch Rebbe can't, because my father started to become more able, more refined, he got into learning. He said, if this Lubavitch Rebbe that you became part of can make you into a shtickle mensch, is aggressively Baal Shem Tov. He's greater than the Baal Shem Tov. There's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth. He made us into mensch. Made us, Lubavitch Rebbe. I'm talking about the Amcha. You know, regular guys, regular people. Baseball boys, Frankfurters. And all of a sudden he took the Frankfurter boys and the baseball guys and he elevated them and he taught them and he brought out this help another Yid. Help another Yid. You don't have to be a shliach with a degree and you have to be on the list. Look at Rebbe Yosef. He's a businessman. And look what he's doing. I'm saying this not to toot his horn, just to bring out the Nakuda. You don't need to be on a list and get accolades from the head office. You know what you need to do. It comes again with the pocket, he calls up Dalfin, come out, make a fabrengen, an hour, 2, 3. You don't need accolades. And the Rebbe instilled this in every single Yid. You know an Aleph, teach an Aleph. You know a Beis, teach a Beis. You know a shtickle Torah, teach a shtickle Torah. You can make a fabrengen, make a fabrengen. You know a niggin, sing a niggin. There's no excuse for not sharing. L'chaim, it should help that we should keep on sharing. We should be gesund. We should have a chedus amiti. You know, chedus, freedom. I was telling my Talmidim today, what are you going to think about this Pesach? I said, take one Indian, just one. One thing that you feel you're enslaved in, you're stuck. You're stuck in a rut. And work on that this Pesach. That, if you can come out after Pesach with feeling more free in that particular area, you had Pesach, you had Chedus. Yeah. You had Geula. You don't worry about the Geula Klolis, of course. We need Mashiach, and that's the bottom line. But make a personal Mashiach. When the Rebbe, at the end of the first Maimon, the Rebbe, Ger Chabad, the Breslov, the Rebbe says the Golas Hapnimi. Before he speaks about the Golas Klal, he says your inner struggles. And he broke down crying when he said it. The Golas Hapnimi. You want to redeem the world? Redeem yourself first. You can't redeem the world if you didn't redeem yourself. Why? Because the world needs a redeemer. And if you're not in the redemption mode, if you're not in Geula mode, how can you expect someone else to be nigal? Doesn't the Rebbe that a Yid should look to be Geuladik? What did he want with this Mashiach? You know, really. What Klal Yisrael didn't know about Mashiach before? Ani Mama is a small change for you. What did he want over here? He made a shturm. He tells the reporter, it sounds like you can see it, right? The CNN report. They say I'm like, I don't like to use the lotion, the sugar of Mashiach. Obsessed, the English word. Obsessed with Mashiach. What did he want over here? Rabbi Yoel taught me, every word from the Rebbe has a meaning. This isn't just, and gesagt, he said, and it means nothing. Or it's a joke. No, it's not such a thing. Not only because a tzaddik and every word of a tzaddik is kedusha and tara, but the Rebbe was a very serious person, a serious thinker. So when he tells a CNN reporter that I'm obsessed about Mashiach, and that's what you should write about and talk about, we have to then, what does that mean to us? Does it mean you should just run around? For some, maybe it means that. But for many, it doesn't mean that. So what does it mean? It means you should pile on yourself a geula pratis, as the Rebbe said in the first Maimon Basilagani. Become nigal, become free. And when you're free, you can free someone else. The dugma chaya, the living example, is what Chassidus, at the end of the day, the Alter Rebbe and Tanya, his messages become a dugma chaya of God, of Elikus. Be the embodiment of God. And you say, what do you mean? I'm a mortal. I'm a human being. The gears. I have mistakes and problems and issues. How can I be a godly representative, an Ishaliki? An Ishaliki. The Alter Rebbe says, a famous word at Samach Tzedek, Ili yadai tushtei tayisif. If I would know, I would be. So Chassidim, Lubavitch Chassidim, Samach Tzedek, noch Chassidim, Samach Tzedek. Amalem Chassidus is your daitiv hayisif. You will be a godly person. Not ilu. If I were a rich man, not you, if you were, you will be a rich man. Learn Chassidus. Chassidus, it opens up the channels. It starts flowing. And I'm telling you, everyone is Mekabel Chassidus. I've been in situations where I have to go already.
You can stay all night.
Tell him to come in if I bring noch a paar minutes. Tell him to come in for a few minutes, no? Ask him to come in just a few minutes. The driver. What is it, an Uber?
No.
Yeah, just ask him to come in for noch a paar minutes. We walk around saying, hi, by the literature, right? What do they say? Say, steig in, you'll become a Kiva. In Chabad, we don't have such language. But in Lubavitch, in Chabad, if you learn Chassidus and you work with Chassidus, you become more eiskedel, you become more refined. You really do. You really do. Everyone a fierech, everyone to his level. And then it's contagious. People like to be around refined people, happy people, You come into a room and you're all fachmuret, no one wants to be around you. You come into a room and there's a shmeichel, and then you sing a nigin, and you say a vort, and you say a lechayim. There's a word in English called, it's a cathartic experience. You know what cathartic means? It's a vash de ruis. It wipes you and washes you out, and all of a sudden, you're someone else. You're someone else. In Kabbalah, it says that happens through Derech Ibur. That brings up Perikid Dalam Tanya. What's called spiritual impregnation. I'm not talking about that targets levels. I'm talking about Pashut. It's not the same person. Just like the Rebbe told Rebbe Zalman Geradi, I told you the story before, right? Let Ashtikal Tanya, they go back and get what you left. Why? Because you're an Ayamensch. That wasn't just a joke. It wasn't just Vertalech. It's an emes. When you learn that, the emes Ashtikal Tanya, you're not the same person. That's all we need to do is to learn a little Chassidus. To learn a little more Chassidus. What do they say? What do they say? 3 things, right? If you have money and it hasn't messed you up, you need more money. And not about right to say if you learn Chassidus and you're still not a man, stop to learn more Chassidus. Chassidus is a gewaldige limud, a gewaldige, very positive. Today they use the language, the self-improvement language, very positive and very upbeat. Such language, right? Chassidus has it. And I must say that I don't know why it's this way. I'll tell you a ma'aser shoyu kachoi. When I was 14, 15 years old, I was in the mikveh in Borough Park before they built every block of mikveh. We had one mikveh, 46 between 14th and 13th, for those from Borough Park who know. I think the Rebbe even was once in that mikveh. I'm come out, I'm a young bochel, I'm washing my hands, and another bocher, a chassidish bocher from another yeshiva standing next to me. So I'm a little troublemaker, so I say to him, you're a chassid, you learn some chassidus? I say, do you know what the 10 sfitas are? He says, what? 10 sfitas? No idea what you're talking about. You're a chassid, you have a Rebbe, and you don't know what the 10 sfitas are. And you're my age, 17, 16, 18, whatever. I learned of someone, a finer, Kloisenberger chassid, Zera finer, good friend. He says he wants to learn Choch Shlema from the Radomski. He doesn't want to learn Tanya. I said, no problem. Let's learn Shleima. It's Torah. See this. Stop learning. It's Kabbalah. He says, you gotta skip this. Okay. More Kabbalah. You have to skip this. Next page. More Kabbalah. Skip this. I can't learn with you. Because the Rebbe, the Heilige Tzaddik, mentions some Kabbalah, the Mele, you have to skip and skip. He says, that's the way I was taught in Yeshiva. Well, I wasn't taught that way in Yeshiva. Mefrekt, you ask. See, this is not Kabbalah. The Radomski was a Chassidish Rebbe. He's a Chassidish Rebbe. He's right? He's not teaching Kabbalah, he's teaching Chassidus. His Eifon of Chassidus, so it's Chassidus. He's writing Chassidus. Rabbi Yoel, when he went to Belgium, over there, Shapsi, Slapetinsky over there, he told me that they said, they want to learn, he has to say from the vision, it said, no. Yisrael. No, Yisrael is the opposite. Abbas Yisrael. Abbas Yisrael. So, they don't want to, Abbas Yisrael, give us a shir in Abbas Yisrael. Gave him a shir in Abbas Yisrael, they were there for 4 or 5 hours, and they said, we never learned to shtickle Abbas Yisrael like this. At reingelegt Chassidus, Pirush Chassidus, deep Chassidus, into the pshat of the Abbas Yisrael. In other words, and this is my word, Chassidim need to learn Chassidus seriously. You don't want to learn Tanya, learn Kedushas Levi, but learn Kedushas Levi, Be'iyun, and learn and not skip. I said, I can't learn with you anymore. I can't. You're skipping, Yiddish learning. Now this goes back to Machlekas, the Avram Kaliskin, the Al-Tareh, but that's the past. Hein darf man lernen Chassidus, and everyone can learn Chassidus. So Meile Chevre macht bei sich Shiurim Chassidus, learn Chassidus, be maimek in Chassidus, think. In Chabad, famous word of the Rebbe say, the Rebbe Rashab was Yortzeit, right? They brought him the Shmini Saloshin. I'm telling you some things they hear that are under the cover, okay? So you don't have to go publicize it in BMG. So they brought him the Shmini Saloshin. And they asked the Rebbe the Rebbe Rashab, what does he say? Took a look. And he said, good to live with that. But by uns kocht man, I'm paraphrasing. By us we put the emphasis on machshava. Not just not to speak Lashon Hara. Don't think Lashon Hara. Oh, that's a good avoida. That's much harder. So for states that the first thing you have to not speak Lashon Hara, Shmini Saloshin. But the emphasis, that's why Chabad doesn't participate in the Chofetz Chaim campaigns of silence and shtiket. It's not that it's against, if something against the Chofetz Chaim's campaigns of shtiket and silence. But the focus was on machshava. I remember I gave a shir in Los Angeles to a group of people, 50, 60 people in the room, many women, and one says, I want to stop talking to my friend, because whenever I talk to my friend, I speak Lashon Hara. I said, start talking. Why don't you elevate your conversation? Talk about sophisticated things, more things that are more spiritual in nature. Of course, when you talk about that this one said this and that one said this, and he did this to me, she did this to me, but you're speaking Lashon Hara. So, Chassidus puts you in a different place. Okay, listen, Chavre, we have to leave some conversation for another time. Well, David, the health that should be a good Shabbos, and it's coming a Dalaf Nissen. It's a day to connect to the Rebbe with a Grace Tzaddik, and the Rebbe's Chai V'Kayim and Poel Yeshuv's B'Kerev Oretz, Yimamish, I'm a gate off an oil, you go to 770, or you're in your Chabad house, or your own house. If you give a tract, then Rebbe, you'll be all right. B'Chai, B'Chai.